You almost did it.
That was me.
Oh my gosh. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks. Today we're going to be talking about networking, and no, not the kind of like, I'm going to be a network admin kind. We're talking about the people kind.
What? I had Wireshark all lined up. I was going to do some HPing presentations. I was going to...
I know.
You just burst my bubble.
I saw pop, just like that. Just pop. Joining me as always. Oh, hi, by the way. If you have stumbled across this and you were like, what the hell am I watching? I'm Rachel Arnold. This is a very casual coffee style chat discussion between cybersecurity professionals. We're just not really sure where the professionals are, so we just show up every week.
You're the professional kitten.
Professional kitten. I love professional kitten. I love it. Oh, look, Nick already noticed your lid.
Thank you.
Hi, Will McCullen, who says hello from YouTube. With me, as always, is Will McCullen, the program manager for the IT Center for Excellence at PIMA Community College in partnership with the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range, and Levi, who, in their own right, is a very terrifying but boopable dark web master of all the things that are terrifying about it for me. Anyway, anytime I have a dark web question, I always go and ask.
I don't think it's scary.
It's not scary.
Mostly because I live there.
You know.
You get used to your neighborhood the longer you live there.
You do. You really do. That's so very true. That is actually very accurate. You know what, though? So we've lived in this house for like 10 years. We bought it 10 years ago. It was our first home purchase. And it's in a neighborhood that's really just close to everything. And it's perfect for us and what we thought, right? Because, whenever you're building something, you don't realize exactly how big it's going to scale and how fast. Anybody relate? And we have outscaled our building is basically what's happened. So we're on the market. But a lot of the houses on our block, specifically at the front of the street, it's more like established families and stuff. But a lot of the houses on our block are rental properties. And we were always fine with that. We always had great people living next door to us. It was wonderful. And then we got this one dude this one time. Okay. And this is an example why we need better mental health care in America. And I'm giggling a little, but I'm so serious. All right. Like, this was an individual that could have really benefited from a lot of just resources and free help and all kinds of stuff. You guys, I was so scared that we actually bought like a shotgun to keep at my house. And I have small children. Like, it was really scary. And it wasn't that he came at us in a violent way. He was always very friendly, like waved and stuff. But his behaviors were so like really just off the wall about stuff. We live in South Louisiana, and this person decided one day, got it in their head that there were people living in their attic and in their floors, and ripped out all of their HVAC ductwork in a house that they do not own and threw it out on the street for the trash man to pick up. And it was all new stuff, like brand new stuff, like ripped it out with his hands. And I was like, I would feel a lot better if we had a shotgun, because this is really scary. But yeah, it was not a good experience from that end. But he did find the help that he needed. And now we have some very lovely renters next door, and they're remodeling it. Actually, somebody new bought the property, and they're revamping it and remodeling it. So if you have less than that emotional damage that you need to unpackage, which is also fine if you do, as long as you are actively seeking help. You guys could live next door to me. Who wants to? Anybody? Like, it's going to be so fancy. It really is. I know that took a really sudden dark turn. So something happened.
Do I get jambalaya? It's very important. I need an answer to that question.
I will make you jambalaya.
Okay, I'll move. Let's go.
I will make you I will. If it would package well and ship, I would make it and send it to you. But it's not nearly as fun frozen coming out of a box as it is like sitting around my table and having my kids scream in the background and my dogs bark and like, yeah, it's not nearly as fun. So something really cool and actually on topic about networking. So I have.
Wait, we stay on topic on this show?
I know. I'm just going to touch on it for just a second, and then we can do whatever we want. So one of the things about networking, and I circulated a picture about it in some of my company's internal communications channels, in some of the women networks and stuff like that. And because they have there's like a lot of options. But I got a letter from my friend this week, and it had all these fun things in it. And it was just a checking in, hi, how you doing thing. And I met her at a conference, my first time I went to GERCon, right, a couple of years ago. And the thing that was so cool, one, she did a presentation, and Levi, you would love her. She's red team. She's about it, and she's pretty badass. For a very large retailer. I don't want to out her completely. And she did a presentation, and then afterwards she was so friendly and so welcoming to me. She had no idea if I had any skill level of any kind whatsoever. I was like, I really like your shoes. She had these shoes that like the whole bottom's like lit up, and it's not like the kind where like the kids, you know what I mean, where they walk and it lights up, kind of weight activated. They just stayed lit, and I was like, that is dope. I want some of those. Anywho, she's super sweet, very cool. And another friend of mine, I met his fiance, and she does this thing where she loves to keep pen pals. And I was like, that is such a cool concept. So I reached out to the friend that I met at GERCon, another friend of mine, Molly, and I was like, this is such a neat thing. Can we start doing this with no expectations whatsoever? Because we know none of us are going to ever keep up with this on a regular basis. And they were like, dope. Yes, let's do that. So I got my letter by surprise from the lady that first made me feel so welcome at GERCon. And look, you guys, she got me a best friend. Have you seen these? I haven't had one of these since I was like 11, and it's a little cyber themed heart that's like the other half of a thing, and it's just fun stuff that just, you know, she put time and effort into this. Like fun stickers that I got, and and I was like, so I got to thinking about that this week, and I was like, you know, if I hadn't have been open to connecting with other people, my light just suddenly turned on.
I saw that. Yeah. Aliens, Rachel. Well, what are we gonna do?
It's my electric personality. So.
That or Levi's into your IoT devices.
Probably. That's not a smart light bulb, though. Usually a dumb light bulb. You know? That's why it suddenly turned on, was because it wasn't. My children unscrewed it just enough. And it got me thinking, like, if I hadn't initially stepped out there and made myself open to the opportunities to connecting with other people, I would not in a million years be where I am. It wouldn't have. There's no other way I could have gotten here at all. It wouldn't have mattered. And I've had other people that have engaged with me in conversation, and they're like, I was so surprised by your style of communicating and the level of engagement that you have, and how genuine you are. And I'm like, well, that's because I don't know how to be anything else. I don't have a script. I don't follow those well, obviously. As a parent, by live stream, like squirreling all over the place, right? And then I got to thinking, I was like, you know, I wouldn't have met Will if I hadn't done that. And I wouldn't have met Levi. And I wouldn't have been a part of a great group of people at the Innocent Lives Foundation. And look, Jack, look, all the people right here. Like, I wouldn't have known any of these folks that are in the chat. And they're all beautifully unique and wonderful and have like super, juicy brains. That sounds
Delicious.
That sounds delicious. That sounds weird to say, but it's true. Not everybody can hold all of the information of the universe, and if they think they do, we don't want to talk to them. But like, it's just this thing that so many people don't make themselves open to the opportunities to connect with people because of whatever personal traumas they've experienced in their life with that, or anything else. But it's such a huge, valuable part. Like, the need to push through that fear is so important to not only your personal well-being, because let's face it, no matter how much you say you hate people, we are pack animals. We need pack, right? You have to have, if you're not the person that has, 100 acquaintances, you at least have one or two people that you connect with on a very real level. Whether that's, your actual family or your friend family, whoever it is. And
Family, will.
And I thought it would be good for us to sit down and, talk about some of the connections that we've made in our careers or in our lives that, were so valuable, looking back and seeing how it connected into our life and the path and the direction that we took. Is that okay? Can we do that? It's a little heavy. I know.
We can make it light.
Let's talk about Levy's lid. I absolutely love it. So I don't know, like, if as you guys are listening,
product somehow.
Levy's lids,
or maybe GoFundMe, lids for Levy.
Please add to my collection.
Don't tempt me, Will. Don't tempt me. As we're going through the chat today, I invite everybody that's listening in, man your keyboard and feel free to share positive, negative, neutral moments that you've professionally or personally connected or networked with someone. Because, right, I hate saying stuff like age of COVID. But you used to be able to do that and feel very confident about interacting and engaging with new people face to face. And how do you go about doing that now? Are there questions about what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, right? Because a lot of people struggle with just the social parameters around meeting a new person on a social media platform, right? They're like, I'm not sure how much to say, how little to say. What can I do to help people see at a glance that I stand out, or that my ask to connect with them is actually genuine, that I'm not here to sell stuff. I'm not trying to get anything out of this other than just connecting with another human being, that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's the thing.
Well, also I would broaden that just a little bit, because the description of what you said there, one of the things that comes into my mind, because I basically developed, my career started in K-12, right? And then I came up through that working at the college in the networking department and stuff like that. And it's so easy in this industry that you feel like you're part of a cog in the machine, right? You have your job, you have your sphere of responsibilities and things that you do. And it's really easy to get into that groove and get stuck. You have your cubicle, you have your systems, you have that little realm of what you do. And one thing where my career started to change and really move is when I started to become feeling okay with taking a vision or taking an idea and starting to share that honestly, openly. Hey, this is a good idea. What do you guys think? How about if we go down this road? Let's percolate on these ideas. Let's start to work those out. And it's a matter of kind of getting out of your shell and allowing yourself to be honest and open to put forth your ideas and to allow that to grow. And that's personally in my career, that's where things really started to take off. But that you have to allow a great deal of vulnerability to open up to be able to do that. And I think there's so many people, especially in this industry, that are kind of stuck in a self-imagined bubble or a self-imagined groove that is hard to get out of. And that's where, Rachel, you're so incredible, because you are more than willing to help others see beyond that and grow out and get beyond that.
And you know what? It's something that I learned. It's something that I learned whenever my whole income was based on being able to meet people very quickly, because it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Whenever you sit down in sales 101, right? If anybody did, they don't do the door-to-door anymore because they're like, that's dangerous. We should have never told children this was a good idea. But whenever your school like did the school fundraisers, right? And you get the sheet and like you go door to door, like I always, I was a latchkey kid. Okay. Like my parents didn't get home till like 5, 6, 7, sometimes, it was late, and they worked very hard, and I love them and appreciate them for that. But it also meant that whenever I got those fundraisers that would come home, they were too tired to participate. Like they weren't going to walk with me, you know what I mean? Or they weren't taking it to work either because they were going to forget, because, adulting is hard, and adulting was especially hard before Google, right? Just all kinds of stuff. And I would always feel really defeated and like I was screwing it up, because you'd see these kids come back and they'd win all like the big prizes that were actually, all really cheap and stupid, and we could have just donated the money to the school and then bought me a prize. But whatever. It's supposed to build character, And it did. It did build character, because I would go door to door, every house in my neighborhood, and find out that people had gotten there before me and they'd already bought, right? So they were like, sorry, not this time. Or they may have been making that up just to not have to deal with me. And I would get a lot of no's, a lot. And it really hurt. It hurts bad. And I think a lot of adults go through that now. Whenever they reach out looking for collaborative help, they'll reach out to 1 or 2 people and they'll get no's. But you can't stop there. And you have to understand there's no reason to hold resentment towards the people that aren't able to engage with you right in the moment when you're ready to engage with them. And it was a numbers game to go through and meet people in the industry and to learn as much as possible from them about what their struggles have been, what their needs might be, what they're working on right now that I could learn about or be interested into. And I probably the first week that I blew the dust off of like my LinkedIn account, I had 7 connections on LinkedIn. I was not utilizing it properly at all, and didn't care to, because there was no need. But whenever you're looking for that into an industry or an opportunity to learn and chat, and I know that I'm a conversational learner. It's why I talk so much now. But I probably connected with well over 50,000 people. Legit. I had to go back to John Davis and go, I keep meeting the weekly limit for connections that LinkedIn will allow me to have. And he was like, oh, we got to fix that. Because he didn't realize, he wasn't sure how excited I was going to be about it. And I got really excited, because for every 100 people, and I'm making this up, I did not go back and count. Okay. So these are rough numbers. For every 100 people that I would send out a hi, whatever, blah, 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 And I would send the same message and then tweak it a little bit here and there, learning as I went kind of thing. I maybe got 5 people to just acknowledge that I was a person on the planet. Okay. The rest of them ignored me. They left me on red. You know what I mean? Or I sat in connection purgatory, that place where you're neither accepted nor declined. And they're just like, don't even care. And out of the 5 people that acknowledged that I was a human being on the planet, I would maybe chat a bit with 3 of them. 2 of them didn't really want to talk. They just were happy to just hit the connect button, because the way LinkedIn works, right? Like once you connect to a few people, you start to open up and are able to see more connections because they're connected to those people, and so on and so forth. So they would just hit the connect button, and that was fine. That was enough, right? I was like, I'm so grateful. Thank you. And I would send them a message that said, thank you for connecting with me. Looking forward to being part of your network, or looking forward to following your content. And out of the 3 people that actually would chit chat back and forth, maybe one of them would be willing to like have a video call with me, or a convert, like, and we would get to know each other a bit more. And there's no, if there's a magic secret sauce to doing this, and I see people selling the magic secret sauce, right? They're like, come take my class, be a LinkedIn master in, 2 days. And, all the shiny, here's the whole world.
I don't have a secret sauce, but my added spice is don't let me win at bingo. Because once I win at bingo, our conversation is over.
Oh, with the buzzwords. There we go.
If I hit bingo on my little bingo card for that call or conversation, it is done. I just told somebody, a vendor, this week. I was like, if we hit bingo, I will leave. I don't care if it's my meeting and I'm hosting it. I'm out. Clearly I am wasting my time.
I saw somebody very creatively misuse quantitative. I screenshotted it and sent it right to Chris Roberts. Right away.
Well, Jack's got a good point there, right? Or take my boot camp and immediately make 100K plus.
Yeah, that's not true. You can't go.
I don't want friends or connections. Leave me alone.
You can't. I want to flip the script on that for just a second. Okay. Think about this. Stop trying to strategize making friends. It's not going to work. Just stop it. You're going to have to be vulnerable to make friends. So stop wearing your little secret sauce strategy, make 100K immediately after you take my class. Stop doing that. You're putting on personal armor because you want to try anything else other than being vulnerable, right? It's just like, why is Rachel maybe slightly overweight according to her doctor? I feel glorious, just so you know. But why is that? And it's because, you know what? I know what to do. I know that I probably should really stop eating fried boudin balls. And if you guys don't know what boudin balls are, I'm real sorry for you. Okay.
I don't know what that is, but I also can't eat fried food. So don't waste your time with me.
I already feel really bad for you. Don't eat fried stuff. Maybe just save cake and cookies for birthdays, because you already have enough, right? We're a family of 5. There's plenty. Like maybe the in-between midnight run for Oreos is a bad idea. Like don't do that. And oh yeah, you should probably get more active outside. But you guys, it's real hot outside in Louisiana when it's like nice enough to go outside. Like I make so many excuses.
Get inside little bike thingy.
I know. And then I just hang clothes on it.
Be better.
Because I'm like, look at all the storage I'm getting.
Be better.
I did. You know what? I made a positive move. This is a vanilla, non-fat cinnamon powder, no sugar latte.
There are so many words. You know what is great about tea? It's tea. It's one word.
You know what's great about coffee? It's not tea.
Yeah, but you know what's not great about coffee? It's coffee.
Need it so bad. So
tea.
So the thing is like, and for anybody that struggles with like wanting to get healthier and feel better and everything else. You know what to do, but you know why we fall for all the dieting scams and crap is because we hope that somebody's going to offer us an easier way to do it that we don't actually have to try real hard at.
But also some of the stuff that causes the worst is clinically diagnosed as addictive.
Yeah.
But we don't treat them as addictions.
There you go.
Like cheese.
Right. Is it really? Oh God, I have a problem.
There were some studies a few years ago that cheese may light up the part of your brain that is the same area when you're like addicted to other substances. I don't think it does it quite as strongly as certain drugs do, but it does light up that part of your brain.
Do I look worried? It's because I think I probably need to be in some sort of cheese anonymous group.
Well, you just said that on a live stream, so you're not anonymous anymore. But
do those properties stay the same with fondue?
Food addictions don't get treated the same way. First off, we can't stay on topic to save our lives here. Welcome to the show. Secondly,
but it does. It's still on topic because I just learned something that may be valuable about myself and something I do on a daily basis because I was able to network with Levi.
Wow.
Because information, right? Like, and it's
fun fact. You want to learn a fun fact about me, Rachel?
I always love fun facts about you, but don't necessarily trust the validity of them right
That's
away.
Fair. So before COVID hit and I switched jobs, I was planning on getting certified to be a trainer. So I was going through a bunch of all these health things, and I was going to work at a local CrossFit that I was going to at the time.
I didn't know. I had no idea. Like I'm almost a little embarrassed that I lack so much self-control now just sitting here.
No,
but continue.
Like it's a whole different thing. There's a reason that I was able to leave for 5 minutes and put on a whole outfit that's like an old unitard workout outfit. I have so many in my house. I actually own more gym clothes than I do not gym clothes. But like nobody who isn't in my secret sneaky channels will have known this, but I'm building a gym. And that's why I've been posting those pictures of it. Because I literally just put a floor in like 2 weeks ago, and we're doing electrical work now. So I can use all of my equipment.
I'm so proud of you. Do you have any idea?
I just want my gym.
I'm just.
I haven't been able to go to a gym properly since I moved because COVID.
Yeah.
Rude. So I bought all the equipment. I used to have it in a tiny, tiny little room at my last place.
So do you know everything about how to do that, how to set that up and do
the word everything means no. Okay, I don't know everything.
Well,
but setting up what?
For setting up your gym, your at-home gym. Do you know how to run the electrical and do all this
stuff?
So
I lucked out. My dad has a pastime of being an electrician. Well, right now he's an electrician. He's been a roofer. He's been a contract worker. He's been a construction. I don't know construction, but he's worked inside of houses, outside of houses, on top of houses, probably under houses. He's been under mine, so I don't know. So he knows all of the regulations and the way to build all this stuff. So we've been building it together.
That's awesome.
So I know we're going to get this kind of wood and we're going to do this. And I was like, okay. And then I got to screw everything in and carry things around because that's all I like to do is pick up heavy things and put things down.
And do you learn stuff from hanging out with your dad?
Like I've worked on cars. We joke that if a car broke down, I can fix the computer in it and he can fix the other crud. And I've learned about we had to drill into cement to put in the new flooring. So I got to learn more about how to do that because that's fun. We broke 3 bits doing it. That was fantastic.
That's awesome. And Will, whenever you guys were I don't know, first had the idea for the IT Center for Excellence, did you have all of the knowledge and tools that you needed to stand that up?
Well, fortunately, because we were operational IT before we came over here, we both had experiences on construction projects with multiple sites, everything from the cabling to the equipment to stuff from ground zero. But the hard part in all this was not so much the technical side of it, was getting the ideas across, right? Because when we went to partner with the Arizona Cyber Warfare Range, right? You take that to the administration of an academic institution and say, hey, we'd like to have a room over here where anyone in the community can come for free and learn how to hack. Don't you think that's a great idea?
Yeah.
Their first reaction is kind of like,
They're like, oh, you're gonna make a baby threat actor factory? Oh my god.
And I will not lie, it took huge repetition and efforts to bring that through. We had to do risk assessment after risk assessment after risk assessment. We had to, administration, as administration will, because it's a very wise move, will say, can you give us some comparisons of other places that are doing this? And, we did as much research as we could and kind of came back and went, haven't found any, sorry, but we still think it's a great idea.
Right?
And the other aspect of this, and I think this is some of the concepts that we're trying to pass along to folks here, that hopefully it'll help somebody out there, is that with persistence and with reaching out, with being comfortable and learning how to be comfortable with a lot of rejection, a lot of coming against your ideas, that when we get that out there, and honestly, the industry came back and said, oh, absolutely, this is just what we need. And that's what really helped to make a difference and to confirm that. Not to mention, we would get students that would be absolutely excited to be able to get hands-on access to stuff, work on projects that they can't work on other places. How many folks have a rack of, $15,000 servers in their home, right? That's kind of hard for a lot of students to do.
I mean, doesn't everybody? I don't see what the problem is. Well,
but the whole networking aspect of this, right, was to get the idea out, and we pulled together business from all over Tucson and said, what do you want from students to be able to hire them?
Right.
It's just taking a fact of the matter, common sense, plain, honest forward, hey, what do you need from us to be able to hire our students?
And so how did you go about reaching out to the local businesses to even start that conversation? Did you just, I don't know, open up the digital version of the yellow pages and just go, well, we're starting with the A's, and like go door to door? Or were there...
Well, almost, yeah. I mean, fortunately, we have a great workforce development area, right? And so they had some contacts at that time. So
you mean you networked with other people that had networks that they got
absolutely,
because they knew how to network and make
absolutely
friends? And then you leveraged those relationships and asked for help? Yeah, okay. Sorry. Was that point clear?
Well, I like to think of this much more as a God thing, right? Because, and by that, I mean, there's nothing that any one of us could have put together. A whole bunch of stuff has kind of put together. But the way some of that came about too is that in workforce at that time, she's since gone on to, she's now CEO of a group, but in workforce, we had an employee who she was incredible and worked heavily with entrepreneurships and things of that sort. And so she had a great contact list going forth. And then we would work together with trying to find the businesses in the area, make the contacts with fellow IT techie folks, and say, hey, we're going to have a summit. Let's, if you be so kind, I know you're looking to hire people. Could you please come by? Could you, just spend an afternoon with us or a day with us where you can kind of come to hear what we're talking about, but what we need are your ideas. And the thing that made it work was just being flat out honest, right? Being able to say, hey, we don't have all the answers.
Gasp.
And the whole idea, correct us if we're wrong, but the whole idea is we're a community college, right? And so we're
community
students, and we're trying to provide folks that can get hired into your companies. So correct us if we're wrong. We think hopefully it's not that wild of an idea. How about if you tell us what you need? Right?
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that.
Listen, okay. I've gotten the opportunity to train a lot of people. And my first spiel whenever I train someone is, if you don't ask questions, I don't trust that you know anything. And so I need you to ask questions. And the level of discomfort people have with asking questions is wild to me. I don't understand it. And I've asked people, I'm like, why is asking questions such a bad thing for you? And they're like, I was told it was bad when I was a kid. And I'm like, please go get re-educated. This is wrong.
Right. What is happening? Right. But the whole point is just, it's so important that if you have something that you're passionate about, whether it's you're a new person coming into an industry, whether it's somebody that has an idea that's going to change the way that newcomers are educated and are made valuable to the businesses that need them, right? And Will and his team are very passionate about that. Whether it's, just the way that Levy's able to reach out to people and do your thing.
I just annoy people until they like me or hate me. It really ends up being the same either way.
I call it politely persistent.
I would call you politely persistent. Yeah. I would not call me politely persistent.
Levy is aggravated persistence.
I said this to somebody at work the other day, that they said that they really liked the way someone was persistent about things they were passionate about, but the way they were persistent was coming off as really aggressive. And I was like, there are different ways to be persistent, and there are different ways to get something done. And like, I'm very persistent, but all of my actions tend to be in the background where nobody else sees them, especially at work. So it's something that we couldn't get done, and then suddenly we're getting at least motion on it, but nobody knows anything has happened. That's how I'm persistent in most cases. But then there's people who are like aggressively persistent because they're like, you need to know that I know what I'm talking about, because I need that validation.
Yeah.
Which is another side effect of having this big issue with asking questions and acknowledging when you don't know something, which is, I think, part of the biggest problem with networking, is that people can't acknowledge they don't know something. So they're having an issue reaching out for help, which is usually, if you look into social engineering and how group dynamics work, if you are asking someone else for help, they're a lot more likely to talk to you than if you are just saying, hey, talk to me, I'm this rando stranger person.
Right.
Because people are intrinsically in your brain is somewhere. What was it? Delicious, squishy brains, however Rachel put it earlier.
And it also helps that, and here's the difference between approaching a new connection with a genuine need to connect to them, right? If, I mean, if you see somebody and it's apparent to you in your visual assertion of them that they need help, right?
Mhm.
For instance, let's say somebody walking into a store and they have two kids, one on each hand, and you happen to be able to beat them to the door and open the door for them.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't need them to ask you for help because you're human and you can relate and you have a little empathy and you're like, I've been there in one way or the other, and it would be really nice if somebody had opened the door for me, and I want to do that for somebody else. Right? And that's all it takes. It's just that's it. You don't have to like commit to that person as a human afterwards. You don't have to be like, let me be your personal nanny for your entire shopping experience, right? Like, you don't have to do all that. Just the door open is sometimes all anybody wants. But if somebody stands by a door, tapping their foot, waiting for somebody else to open the door,
Yeah.
right? Doing that ask, but there doesn't appear to actually be a genuine need, right? Then it causes the people that are approaching the door to look at them and be like, what, your arm's broken? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna ignore that attempt at a New York accent.
Well,
it wasn't. It was a New Orleans one.
that looked like it was an attempt at New York.
Rachel, if you can throw up Ben's.
Yeah, I like Ben.
Yeah. I saw
it
that
seems
too.
like in IT, right? I think there's another thing that happens across the board in this industry, and tell me if you've seen this or not, but it seems that when somebody has a title in IT, oh, you are a security architect or whatever, that what everyone else who is getting going in this industry or has been fighting to try to figure out their own role in their industry, it seems like what they immediately put in their mental image is that person with the title, oh, they know everything about that subject. They are so far ahead of me. They know so much
This goes
more
two
about
ways.
that than I do. And as a result, they crawl into a shell to some degree and say, oh, I can't ask that question because then I'll expose myself that all these other people that understand, that have these titles and know it all, they'll see that I'm an imposter.
Two
and
things.
I don't see it.
Because this goes two ways. One, you can say this at any level. If you're like new in the industry and then somebody not in the industry asks a question, I've seen people have the same reaction. I've seen people below me in rank have the same problem where they're like, I can't ask for help because somehow the CISO is going to find out and then they're going to fire me. Where I'm like, if you break everything, they might fire you, and you're more likely to break it if you don't ask a bloody question. But okay. But the reverse of this is that I've seen people who have been in the industry, regardless of title, for, let's say, 20 plus years, look down at people who are newer in the industry because maybe it's just an age thing. And let's take titles out of it. For a lot of cases, it's an age thing where they expect someone who's been in the industry for a less amount of time to know less. I have run into this so often where someone who's in the industry for a less amount of time still could know more about a certain subject than someone who's been at it for 20, 30 plus years. And so there's multiple levels to this for sure. Add the title to it, where someone who has a title where everyone else expects them to know everything, then meet someone who's been very new, fresh in the industry, and they can show that they know more than the person with the title, and you have a fire. Just things exploding everywhere.
Oh, add to that the old, hopefully this is starting to go a bit, but the old school guard of, I worked so hard to get to where I am, so that means you have to go through the same paces.
Mm-hmm.
right? I need to watch you go through the same misery instead of being able to help you
Yep.
get past those potholes. It's
Yeah, to excel
And
in the whole thing. And then add on the top of that gender and race, and you have the IT industry. Welcome.
But there's some really helpful things, because I encountered a lot of that type of personality connecting to different people. And whenever I got, what equivocally could be the digital door slammed in my face, I kept on persisting with not allowing their response to change me at all, because I understood people have bad days. I don't know anything about this person other than they look like they've worked in a section of the industry that I would love to have a conversation with them about at some point, right? Today could not be the day. Maybe the neighbor backed over their dog in the driveway. Who knows? And they just don't have time or the bandwidth or the emotional wherewithal to be able to empathize with me for any second. And on top of that, what have I demonstrated in any capacity that makes them feel like the help that they may be able to give me has been earned? And I think that's another thing. I think the reason why the metaphor of somebody standing by a door just waiting for other people to open it, and obviously they're not struggling with anything, is that person may be struggling. You don't know. They may have nerve damage from somewhere, and because at first glance it looks like they're not struggling, we assume they're not.
You're about to open a whole another can of worms, taken from a person who has an invisible disability. It's a whole other can of worms. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times all you need to do is say something, right? So, and this happens, I've seen this happen before in like mentor-mentee dynamics, where the mentor will become very frustrated that they feel like the mentee isn't doing any effort whatsoever. They want the mentor to completely 100% handhold through the whole thing. So I think it's a responsibility on the side of the mentee or the person looking to learn something to demonstrate what they have learned so far and where the confusion is coming from, or what direction they're hoping to gain insight from by engaging with somebody who's been in the community or in the industry longer.
Yeah.
That's all. And because you can come up to somebody that's, I don't know, been anything, right? Let's do identity access management. You can walk up to somebody that's been in identity access management and be like, hey, I would love to learn more about identity access management. That is vague. That is not.
Yeah. We don't like vague things here.
That's not helpful. And it doesn't show that you've done any homework into specific questions. And it's too big of an answer. It's too big. Yeah. You can't walk up to somebody.
That's literally when people come up to me, they're like, dark net, what?
Right. And you have to start thinking about how you interact and engage with people in your life right now, right? So any new friendship that you've ever come across, and it doesn't have to be industry specific friendship, it could be why you struck up a conversation with somebody at the cash register while you were checking out with your groceries. Okay. Whenever you talk to that person, did you right there in the checkout line be like, you look like you have an interesting life story. Do you care to lay it out right here?
Okay, I have a fun story though. But wait, I have a fun story. So I'm certified as a social engineer pen test professional. And one of the things I had to do during the training was get someone to tell me a life story, some like traumatic event in their life. And I had another wig with me. I bought these funky, weird space galaxy glasses. I found some shirts splattered in paint and a little notebook and stuff. And I went and I sat in a plaza in Vegas. And I was looking at people and I found this lady sitting alone. And I was like, can I sit down with you for a minute and ask you a question? And she was like, okay. She closes her book and she lets me sit down. I'm like, I'm working on being a writer and I'm trying to learn how to really capture these kinds of emotions. And a lot of people here, they're like in their late to mid 20s, but you've clearly gone through and lived life longer and probably have experienced more, how did I phrase it? Like these hard choices that you had to make that would have repercussions on you and others. And I was like, can you tell me one of those stories? And this lady told me the story about how she met her current husband was because she was helping out these children that had to be taken from their parents because of abuse and drugs and all this stuff, and how she was working in this environment where she was really concerned, working in this environment for these kids that had to go through these really bad issues because their parents were doing illegal activities and they were in danger. And how one of those students, who was like 7 or 8, was being taken away from at the end of school by his aunt, and he said, "I don't think I'm coming back." And she had to tell him that how he could get in contact with her if something happened. And long story short, she ended up having to help this kid get in hold with the police because he was going to end up being trafficked in some way to get money for this family. And I started kind of vague, but with the pretense of having a background where I'm trying to do this thing, and ended up with this great story from this complete total stranger. And then later I got to meet her husband. That was pretty cool. And they were really cool. But if I had tried that same method with someone else, it wouldn't have worked. And so I saw earlier that Patrick Costa put in SE, your way into professional in like independent relationships, right? And I'm like, absolutely. I have spoke at conferences where I'm like, you should SE your entire team for this exact same reason, because everyone has different skills and they have different skills and they have different passions. And just because somebody's really good at flowcharts, that could be a drain on their entire existence compared to being the one to present a flowchart and talk about a project to like the C-suite. And so moving people around is another way of SEing. And the only way you're going to know about those passions is by talking to those people and connecting with them on your team or an individual way. And that's circling back to what I was saying earlier. That's why I'm like, you have to ask questions. I understand that for whatever reason, especially in America, there's a big problem with asking questions, and I don't get it. But if you don't ask questions, asking questions does 2 things. One, actually does a million things, but one of the things it does is it helps anyone identify what you have tried to do without you having to show it. So if Will wants to learn how to do a darknet investigation and ask me a question very specific about like, how do I get past Dred's captchas because they're magnificent, because they are, then that tells me that he's figured out how to get onto a dark web, figured out where Dred is and what it is. And so I know without having to ask myself at least somewhat of a background that Will has, right? And then at the same time, it shows that you can learn by mistakes. Failing is a good thing in a lot of cases, so long as you don't blow up something. Unless that's the point.
I learned so much more by screwing stuff up.
Yes, which I've also heard is a bad thing, and I'm like, why do you teach people this?
And the lesson I learned sticks with me so much harder.
It does.
Like, it just does, because of the struggle of working on it, thinking I was going the right direction, and then suddenly realizing that was not the right direction, right? Makes me not want to, it boosts my my want and need to be more efficient the next time and do it correct.
Jonathan's comment is exactly how and I'm not quite as sassy at work. That's not true, but sometimes. And that's actually how I explain it to people, is that if you will ask questions that tells me more about you, then I need to you to sit. I don't need a thesis about your life story. I need to understand you and your passions. And the way to do that is by figuring out what you're asking about. Because not only does it tell me what do you know and what you want to know, it tells me how you think about things, how you problem solve, how you work through these issues, and how collaborative you are or are not for a certain project or group or what have you.
Right. Well, I'll also throw into the thing that where boy, this can help in the industry, and advice that I give all the time, right? So I'm working with students, but this applies, I think, to so many people in IT. A whole lot of asking questions also depends upon having a certain degree of self-confidence, of being strong enough in yourself. And as Rachel, you brought up early on, I love Eleanor Roosevelt's quote that I hand to students all the time: no one can make you feel inferior without your consent, right? And so expect a lot of garbage coming your way, but it's up to you to whether you accept that or not accept that. And also to try to get across to them, to shatter this concept that just because somebody is someplace in the industry, they have this persona that they know all that area. No, in reality, all of us, we have our areas of expertise, but nobody knows it all.
No.
It doesn't work. So one of the greatest elements of maturity and one of the greatest self-healing and self-revelations that you can make is that even though you come across people that are incredible, that are great, they all have gaps, just like you. They put on pants one leg at a time, if you want to use a cliche.
I put on pants 8 legs at a time, thank you.
Well, or, they wrap their kilts one side over the other, right?
Mine is not tactful, but yes, it's the same idea. It's the same idea. It's really not though. And somebody asked me that. They were like, how do you just reach out to these people and how do you just start conversations? And I'm like, okay, one, you don't see all the work that went into it. Okay. You just don't. You're seeing
it's a huge point.
Right. To call on the metaphor that we all loathe and love at the same time, the iceberg.
Yay, arrow. Sorry.
Whatever you want to use it for. At the tippy top of the iceberg, it's like, wow, Rachel has fabulous conversations with fabulous people. Here are some of my fabulous people. Right? Like, how to get here? Like, 300,000 people did not talk to me. Okay? They did not. And I didn't just try once, didn't get feedback, and not try again.
Oh my God, feedback is so important.
I kept trying in a politely persistent way that was not me asking for something other than the ability to communicate with them. A lot of times, I especially see salespeople doing this, they forget that there's these little nuanced steps whenever you're reaching out to somebody to connect with them first. Do not send me a sales pitch.
Bingo. You instantly hit bingo if you do that.
Don't send me a sales pitch.
Bingo's bad in this context.
Right? Let's go back to the cashier in the grocery store. Whenever you look at the cashier in the grocery store, you're going to notice a few things, right? Does that cashier look well put together? Do they look disheveled? Right? These are two things that you can discern immediately about this person's appearance. That's like they either struggling today or they got it. They probably feeling pretty fierce, right? Did you read the name tag? Use their name, right? Just a few things that you can notice about somebody to make your first sentence to this other human a personable situation rather than just a blanket statement like, hey, how you doing today? Right? Hey, how you doing today? That is
or make them laugh.
That is so nondescript. It's so nondescript. There's nothing in it, right? But if you take time to notice a few things, and you can do this in a digital way too, go look at their LinkedIn profile. If you're using LinkedIn to connect to people, go look at their LinkedIn profile, right?
You're going to learn like 2 things about me on my LinkedIn profile, though.
Well, unless you're trying to hide, right? A lot of people are way more apt to be honest there for whatever reason they have to be very honest.
Because they want jobs.
They want a job, right? And you can't do that if you're disingenuous about your LinkedIn profile.
I have a job. Rude.
Yeah, and great point there too of ripping people out of their zombie state, and cashiers. Anyone who has hung around me at all, great from a George Carlin skit, right? When the cashier says, how you doing? My gut response is always moderately neato. Thank you. And they'll kind of be like, wait, what? But
right, because you break the cycle. You break the habitual cycle.
I get a similar response because I usually my go-to response is I'm alive for now. How about you?
That's awful. Do you know that I would immediately be the person that's like, do you need a hug? Do you want to hang out? I get off in like 2 hours.
But look, that would open such a door. Look at that.
It would incite so much panic in me, though.
I mean, I don't say for now. I'm usually like, I'm alive.
Well, my other favorite is ambulatory. Thank you.
I like that one. That's a good one. I like that word.
What's so funny to me is everybody likes to use that thing where they're like, so how you doing today? Oh, living the dream. You want to know what that does for me?
Tells me you're a liar.
The empath in Rachel goes, you are on the edge of making very poor decisions because you feel empty in a shell of a person that has been overworked, you were overtired, and you just need a nap and a cookie.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. Living the dream. I'm like, anytime I hear anybody on any call utter that phrase, if I remember, because ADHD, let's not forget. If I remember, immediately after the call, I'm like, living the dream, eh? Like, let's expound upon this because
I'm alive.
That's such a masking statement for so many
Patrick
people.
says that they need a nap and a cookie.
Yeah, so I do too, Patrick. I'm with you.
I need to not be a crippling insomniac. So yeah, same.
Yeah, that's a thing. But like, whenever you're out there, like, and I don't know, maybe it's some kind of child trauma from going door to door and being told no. But eventually, I just decided I wasn't going to feel disappointed. I just made the conscious decision at 8 years old to go, you know what sucks? Feeling disappointed. So I'm just not going to do that. That looks bad.
I think it's so interesting because a lot of kids do that. And if they don't succeed, it spirals them down a different path, right? And a lot of them are like, well, clearly I can't do this. Clearly I'm not a social person. I can't interact with people this way. I can't achieve this, blah, 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 blah. And it just tumbles as the older they get. Whereas the people who are high achieving, they're like, look, I can do this. I'm really good at this. And they can end up becoming really popular because they believe that they can be more social and interact with more people. Yeah. When there's probably almost nothing stopping the people who didn't sell the most from also doing that.
Yeah. And I know, Will, you're probably going to have to go. I love you so much. Levy and I will wrap up. You keep on doing anything else besides living the dream. Okay.
At least be alive.
Hey, if you're living the dream, it's time to get a bigger dream.
Or wake up, maybe.
If anybody wants to ever chat or talk to any of us, we're very happy to do that. You can find us.
Just don't message me on LinkedIn because I don't check LinkedIn.
Don't message Levy on LinkedIn.
I don't check LinkedIn. I come on LinkedIn once a week for this. This is it.
But Levy has a Twitch channel.
And a Twitter. Either of those is fine.
Where are you at? Here's your Twitch. Yeah. So go there, hang out, find out more things if you want to be able to converse more with Levy. Levy is fantastic resource when it comes to Python related questions. What other kind of coding languages are you?
C++, Python, and Golang. Right. And my Python class is coming up soon. And So my big thing is if I can't answer your question, I will either find the resource so we both will learn it, or I will find you someone who can. Because because once you ask me a question that I don't have an answer to, I want to know it too now. Like there's nothing that's going to stop me from learning that thing. So that's why Rachel and I get along.
That's why we get along so well. It's because we're like, do you know this? No. Do you know this? No. Do we know somebody that knows this? I don't know. Let's go ask.
And if we don't, we will find that person and force them to be our friend.
We will. We really come to the dark side. We allow for nap time and we give cookies.
Thank you guys so much. I got to jet, unfortunately, but
it's too cool for us.
We'll see you next week, Will.
Rock, and thank you for everyone who piped up today. That's awesome.
Look,
yeah,
if
thanks for
somebody
the
is-
chat. So cool. Have a
We
great
love
day,
you.
Will.
Take
We'll
it
see you.
easy.
Peace. I love Will.
And then there was 2.
And then there were 2. I'm gonna make you go up there.
Oh no.
So, but like, I don't know. It's just I had the fear. So I feel like a lot of people struggle with coming to people, right, with questions because they're afraid of seeming.
Did that get ingrained in you as a kid? Because that's what people keep telling me. Every time I ask them, why are you so afraid of asking questions? I'm told that it was ingrained in them as a child, either by parents or by the school system.
So that's going to launch us into a whole nother hour
Yes.
worth of conversation.
If only an hour, that'll be surprising.
Just to be fair. And I do have a meeting. I was sick. I was like, and you can still hear it and you see me muting and like coughing and stuff. Yesterday was so bad. I tried to, I had to like slough off conversations that I knew that I was going to be terrible at and just coughing through the whole thing. And then I sat on a demo for a really cool company and I was very excited about it. And because I'd already put them off once for something else, there was like a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot cancel on these people again. They're so nice. But it was like for 2 days last week, I've been like overcoming this cold and it's been horrible. And anyway,
I totally feel you. My tongue was swollen for the past 3 days. And I had a 7-hour meeting yesterday where I was talking the entire time. That was fun. My tongue is a lot better today, but I don't know what happened.
Oh my gosh. But the thing ingrained in this and with the school systems and stuff, I think we have been conditioned that way because the industry that our school system, because okay, the government is a producer of taxpayers.
I have
Okay?
opened
And
a
the
box of
taxpayers,
words.
yeah, you so did. And the taxpayers are the thing that keep the government going. It's a reciprocal relationship. Okay.
Mhm.
Wheels keep turning. We've got some breakdowns that have happened because we're very proud of ourselves post World War II. This is a whole thing. All right. I'm just saying. And our current education systems, if you haven't been checking in lately on the just the public education widespread, it may be better in some places than it is in other places.
Absolutely, because there's no standard across the board.
There's not. I live in South Louisiana. They do the best they can. Okay. They do the best they can. My kids attend public school and their teachers are amazing. They are amazing that they show up every day and deal with 20 to 30 little tiny humans that have no control over their emotions, over anything, right? But the system is set up to produce a workforce that is designed to participate in society in a manufacturing capacity. And in a manufacturing capacity, you should not ask questions. You should do what you're told when you're told to do it for your own safety, for the safety of your coworkers, and for the efficiency of whatever it is that we're trying to produce, right? You are a cog in a wheel, and asking questions is a waste of time. And I think it is very much so ingrained. And I'm here to tell you right now, I don't know if you've noticed, we are not a manufacturing society anymore. We are not manufacturing
a long time ago.
things. Okay. We're not set up that way. What we are doing is being able to create something wonderful that consumers can consume. But to be able to create the wonderful thing, we have to be able to ask questions. We have to be able to work with diverse groups of people to gain their insights and ideas, because you don't want to leave off a whole consumer basis because you didn't consider their perspective or needs for the thing that you're going to try to produce and sell to them. Okay? That they're going to utilize.
This is my favorite part of this episode because I'm watching both you and the chat blow up into a can of worms, and I love it.
It's such a thing.
But it's important. Like, I don't get it. Personally, I don't get it. I have never understood why so many people I know, because in my history, I've mentioned this before, I've gone to school for way too many things for way too long. Consistently through multiple different schoolings, multiple different states, multiple different lives, whatever. I have been that person that everyone will secretly whisper their question to because I was the only one in the classroom who would ask a question. And I'm like, I don't see why it's so problematic for you to ask questions. I don't get it. I have been called like the Hermione Granger of certain classes where nobody else would ask this darn question, but I always did. And I'm like, I don't understand what the problem is. And the only answer I've gotten is like school says, don't ask questions. Don't step out of line.
I still do it. I do the preemptive, like, apologies if this is a stupid question, right? And that's okay. If that makes you feel more comfortable asking what you perceive as a stupid question, it may not be a stupid question. It may be.
It probably isn't.
It probably isn't. You're probably not the only one wondering the thing that you're wondering. And you could be like, I don't know, you could be a hero for the collaborative effort of everyone else.
That's not the big understatement of the year, Rachel. There have been people who are like, I would not get through doing XYZ if you didn't ask all these questions for me. And I'm like, I don't get it. And this doesn't just stay with school. There have been meetings I've had over the past year and a half or so where no one knows what the heck is going on. And I agree with Jonathan's comment, and I'll get to that in a second, where no one knows what's going on. The FYI one. And they're just sitting there listening to someone present something about a new tool that people need to learn how to use. And if you ask a person how to use it outside of that meeting, they couldn't answer you anything. The people on the team who need to actually use it day to day. So I've been a person who wasn't even supposed to be in a meeting, and I've just taken over the meeting, asking questions and writing up notes to be like, no one knows what's happening. Let me help you. Because you need to know. And if you need to know something and you don't know it, I don't know how else you get from A to Z if you don't ask a question.
You don't, because yay, the internet, right? There's so many resources, but sometimes that can become overwhelming in the resource. And that's something I think a lot of times goes back to the mentee-mentor conversation, right? Where mentees are like, I don't know what to do. And the mentor's like, have you tried anything besides coming to me first? And they're like, I don't know what to do, right? And it's because they're so inundated with so many resources, they don't even know how to Google it right. And you and I have talked about this before. Being able to ask the right question is so
absolutely. I was about to say that. You need to know how to ask the right question. And if you are been told you can't ask questions up to that point, and now someone's like, well, what is the question you're asking? How are you supposed to suddenly know how to ask the right questions? We're crippling people from being able to actually perform for themselves, let alone others, by not allowing people to ask questions. There's so many people who talk about how poorly someone's doing in school. But if they're not allowed to ask questions, do you really know if they're doing poorly? Like that they don't understand it? Or they could never understand it? Or are they doing poorly because you won't let them learn? I don't get it.
Exactly. We're gonna have to wrap up.
I will keep talking. It bothers me. I will not stop talking until people ask questions.
I don't know, but I feel like we should. You know what we should do? You know what we should do, Levi? Whenever the mood strikes us, and I'm gonna say this and then understand immediately that I want to do this so badly in my life, and I understand I have this much time to actually do it. We should just open up a live chat after hours and just be like, Levi and Rachel, like riffing for like an indiscriminate amount of time.
That is a board Twitch stream or literally any Twitter thread ever. That's what that is. I literally the other day, last Friday actually, there like laws were coming out about like teaching about gender and sexuality stuff in schools. And I went through and I found a bunch of laws that have been passed in the past year. And I was just breaking them all down because I'm like, I don't understand why news sources don't give you the actual law to read and they're just trying to skew your point. So here's all this information. It had nothing to do with anything. But somebody somewhere is probably going to need that. So I'm all about just random riffing like that.
So look, for anybody listening that was hoping to gain some sort of clear direction on which way you should approach networking with people, the the first thing I'm going to highlight is stop holding yourself back. Okay. I know it sounds so simple and dumb, but just try. Okay. You're not going to get, somebody else said it earlier and I can't even scroll through and find it. You're going to get nowhere if you don't try. Like you have two options whenever you're thinking and considering of approaching somebody with a question or an outreach to connect to them or some kind of, personal networking thing that you love to do with them. They're going to say yes or they're going to say no. And that's if you ask. Okay. They're going to either answer your question or they're not going to answer your question, or they'll actually just say no. What options do you have if you never take the chance?
I'm going to give you, I'm always open. I say that I don't want to talk to people on LinkedIn and I will ignore you, and I don't mean to. But I'm going to give Rachel my Twitter to send out to everyone, because today specifically and in general, I would love to chat with people about all this stuff. Like I see Jess Bishop. I don't have a YouTube account that I post on, so I'm not going to do that. But that's a really good point of, I wanted to know about this thing. I didn't even know how to explain it because I didn't have any references or what it was called. Like, how do I ask questions about that? That's super interesting, because I can think, like, I don't know what that is, and now I'm going to go look it up because you mentioned it, and now I need to know. But, like, now I'm thinking of, how do you ask questions about something you don't know about, but you have an indication of? And there are definitely ways to do it that are better than others, and I want to know them. And I there's so many good ways. As for Ben's question, because you should. Yes, actually, Rachel did bring that up in the very beginning about why people should network. I don't think we went into it super deep, and I think we'll definitely touch on that again, because we bring that up in like a hush hush whisper way every week anyway. But yeah, and I could go through all these comments, but I won't, because we gotta go.
I need to. I don't want to admit this to you, but I actually do need to go make some hot tea.
Oh my God. Yes. Honey and mint.
You win. Oh, Josh stood on it. Oh my God. You guys, best spouse ever. Yeah, we're actually still just chilling out live because
sorry.
We love you guys. We'll see you next week. I'm gonna try and get this coughing situation under control. That's about to become an anxiety-induced panic attack. Like right
Please
here.
Don't. Just go away and relax and take care of yourself. Hearts to Rachel, hearts to everybody. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week. And if anybody wants to reach out, by all means, send me a message.
Do that.